right, huddle up. We're going to crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, 80. Set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the Finish Line.
I coached some great offensive linemen in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. Ballgame.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another episode of the Finish Line. As always, I'm joined by the legendary Richmond Webb and the Triple OG Mr. Ballgame. Gentlemen, it's been a minute since has it been a week since we last got together?
Yeah, it was last week. You tripping it out.
Sporadic.
Don't handle us like that, man.
Oh, hey, I don't know. I'm here every Wednesday.
Like
Other people aren't, So I'm just getting my dates mixed up here.
Load that Home Depot track up. Let me get your mind right real quick. Yeah. Come on with it. Yeah.
Man, and okay, since then, since our last foray on YouTube, our Dalvin Cook's officially released. And it's heated up a little bit more now that he's officially released, and you got all the posturing going on in the media. We went from the Dolphins and the Vikings posturing against each other to now Cook's posturing the Dolphins for every last dollar you can squeak out here. And something I've talked about on the show, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this, because something I've talked about on the show and actually started to bring up, ironically, by the South Florida media right after I started talking about it. The running back market, gentlemen. I want to get your opening thoughts, how you guys are doing, but also we're going to add a twist to just the usual intro for you guys. I want to get your guys' thoughts on the running back market, because Zeke's out there. A guy we're going to talk about today is still out there. James Robinson just got added out there. Guys, Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs are taking a stand for more money. Now, I said the Giants might get something done with Saquon. They put the $14 million back on the table today. But Josh Jacobs ain't getting nothing putting on the table in front of him. Those guys could get their franchise tags rescinded. And if they do, they hit the open market. Dilutes it even further. Not Cook's market right now. So I want to get your guys' thoughts. How are you doing in the last week, apparently, according to Richmond, since we last talked? And, what are you guys' thoughts on this whole Cook thing? Because I don't want to spend a big segment on it. So I just want to get your guys' thoughts on it in the opening thoughts here.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I guess I'll start it off. I think, like you said, I guess it is a good thing to talk about. It is the running back market bet. I guess out of the guys out there, like you say, Saquon, I think the Giants will get something worked out with him. I don't think he's going. I don't think they're going to let him go anywhere. Jacobs, that could be a different story. Sometimes you take that gamble and it doesn't necessarily work out your way, but out of the backs that were out there, like Zeke Elliott, I think the way our offense is designed and set up, I'm not saying those other guys wouldn't be successful, but I think the thing that was so intriguing about Dalvin Cook is, one, he was a hometown guy. Two, he's a speedster, so his DNA fits right in what our offense was doing, this and that. And, I think it was already known that he wanted to come home and play for the Dolphins. Like you said, you have been talking about it. He was going to get released. We've been knowing about that, but it officially happened. And then now it's kind of going into, I guess, a little bit more like he's trying to squeeze as much money as he can, which I ain't mad at him. And I guess a couple other teams, I think I saw maybe Denver and maybe somebody else, but other teams. So, it's going to come down to a thing to try to get the most money, but put yourself in the best position, I would think, to try to win a Super Bowl or whatever, this and that. I think the value over the years have shifted to where wide receivers more considered more valuable than running back. So for running backs, it's a very short window, and then it like the door kind of closes on you. I think that's been shown with like Zeke Elliott, and then I think even with Tennessee, they were. I think he's still there, but they were shopping Henry. It was, I guess, a question that they was thinking about possibly moving him, and the way his production is being, you would think that would be almost unheard of. But I agree with you. I think Saquon will stay with the Giants, and with Josh Jacobs, the grass is not always green on the other side. And like you say, he might not have picked the right time to do it, so he's just got to wait and see. And it's so late right now that most teams have spent up their money to where the money that he's trying to get is possibly not out there. So we'll just have to wait and see. But out of all of them that's been on the free agent market for me, I think Cook was the fit that kind of the way our offense and stuff is designed will be the best thing. It's not over yet, but just based on the question, I'm just answering it.
Yeah.
Man,
What's up, Mr. Ballgame?
Hey guys, how we doing? I'm just thinking, like this is all started with Jerry Jones, man. Back when Jerry Jones gave Ezekiel Elliott that extension that he was fighting for. Once that happened, and then Zeke's production got kind of stalled out by the emergence of Tony Pollard, that sent a shockwave through the league, man. That really said, "What are we doing?" And then there was a dramatic shift to teams becoming way more pass heavy than run oriented. Now the team still ran from those shotgun formations, but they required different types of backs. And then what teams unfortunately proved that they were prepared to do more with by committee, more so than just having one guy that could potentially come out and be your bell cow. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The whole running by committee thing that killed the market. And if Saquon, if the Giants are folding, right, which I don't mind. I think he said he wants to be a Giant for life. He don't want to live and go nowhere. They might be very well able to work out that deal. But for guys like Josh Jacobs, who at this point right now didn't even want to sign the franchise tag, you know what I'm saying? And the Raiders haven't at any point been aggressive in regards to trying to sign him. Just say, basically we're going to give you this and kind of just be quiet and be happy you're getting it. That might screw. I mean, I don't know, man. I think when you just look at it, guys should just. I'm not saying guys should just shut up and be happy, but like if you're in a space where you have an opportunity to go out and prove your worth, then by all means do it. But at 27, I think what we run into with Cook is the unfortunate fact that like a lot of teams around here are definitely going younger. Hell, Minnesota even said that Madison probably gonna be their guy, so they let Cook go. But then for him to sit out here and then be talking about, you really don't have no leverage to dictate terms to teams in regards to how much money they're willing to pay you, because we know your numbers, but at the same time, Father Time is still not working on your side, bro. And like the Dolphins, I believe that they really and truthfully, they want to be able to run the ball because that provides balance. But at the end of the day, I told you, we got them 2 Ferraris out there, man. And they added to this thing by adding a whole nother Corvette. And I'm saying ZR1, by the way, and Robbie Anderson, or the Chosen, whatever you want to call him. And then you got Barry Else that done brought in, he's a poor man's super, you know what I mean? All these things have changed. So the dynamic and the explosiveness of this team is still very much, well, I'm just saying, bro. Like, what is that, a Celica?
So what is he? What's he? And that's going. So you're saying he's a Celica? He's a Celica. A Celica, whatever. I used to call him Celica.
It's a Celica. Yeah.
Man.
And I just really think, like, if the dude want to play, man, the Dolphins. Listen, they want him here. I think everybody wants him here because he just completes the entire offense in so many different ways. But you're not going to break the bank to have him here, and they're prepared to still say, you know what, we can do it. We can do it by committee as well, because teams have proven they can do it. So it's an unfortunate space that he's in, but at the same time, I think that going with what's best for the team overall for the short and long term is always going to work out better. And really and truthfully, I think he should just really think about what matters the most, right? This team is built to do some great things, and we want to be a part of that. You spend all that time up there in Minnesota getting beat up. Yeah, sign one year deal, and then we'll work it out next year to figure out what's going on. If you win it all, then it don't even matter because you got your name in the record books. You came here, you did it, you contributed, and nobody's gonna remember any of that at this point anyway because they're gonna have to blow it all up somehow. So because you ain't gonna be able to keep everybody. That's the unfortunate.
I mean, look at what's happened to Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler offers you a same exact skill set. I mean, look at he's been doing it since Phillip Rivers was around. Him and Phillip Rivers, people talk about how good him and Herbert together. Him and Phillip Rivers were next level too, catching out of the backfield. And that guy first,
here's a crazy
right
thing.
away in the offseason hit, he wanted a new deal. And what's happened? Everything's gone all quiet on the Western Front because they basically said, yeah, we're not paying you. And and no one's even willing to step up and trade for Austin Eckler and pay him. Like like the market, where I'm going with the market right now is it's so diluted, and there's guys who can have franchise tags rescinded or be traded for, like Eckler or Jacobs, that it's going to be hard for Cook to get anywhere near $10 million when the franchise tag right now is 10.1.
You know what else doesn't help his case is that Kansas City went out and they did it with Pacheco.
Yeah. Well, look at Kansas City right now.
That doesn't help.
What I did too, the problem right now is he wants to play for a contender, right? Dude, the only people that have money are us. The Patriots have money, but they're fourth in the AFC East at best. The Jets, people want to call them a contender. Okay, they got $24 million, but they signed Adrian Amos for $4 million yesterday, so they got around $20 million. They don't know if Breece Hall is going to be ready, but they're sitting pat because they're going to wait for training camp to find out. You look at the Chiefs, the Eagles, all those teams that are contenders. They got no money. The Bengals are a contender, but they got Joe Mixon, and they're already trying to tell Joe Mixon, "Hey, brother, you got to take less money right now." So they're not going to go pay. Right. So right now you're looking at all the teams that actually need a running back as that piece and are a contender. They don't have the money for Dalvin Cook right now. And if he wants to take, look at the Broncos the Broncos like him. Well, the Broncos have like $4 or $5 million right now. Same with the Bills. The Bills have $4 million right now. What are you going to do? So like if this is sitting at first. It's it's clearly we can't. I heard on last Friday we lowballed them, and then. And then I saw someone put out there, well, $4.5 million. I said, there ain't no way he's taking less than $5 million. Then all the reports came out, hey, ain't no way he's taking less than $5 million. And I've said all along that magic number feels like 7. The magic number 7, give or take a mil, right? You can find them in the 6 to 7 or 7 to 8 range. The sweet spot's somewhere in there, and just lock it in for 1 year, bro. Because people keep, we don't have money, we got to take care of in-house. You can go to Over the Cap right now, and you can click down on Christian Wilkins and give him an extension that frees up $7.73 million.
Yeah,
his money don't hit till next year because he's playing on the franchise tag this year, right? So I mean, I don't know what the whole thing is not only. You know what? I'll be pissed off. This is where Reason will have an issue. If we don't take care of any one of our 4 guys we've talked about, Williams, Hunt, Wilkins, or Sealer, if we don't take care of any of those guys, plus we don't get a Dalvin Cook, I'm going to have an issue. Right? Now, if they're going out and trying to get an inside linebacker and a defensive tackle, you better be bringing like a Quan Alexander, an Anthony Barr, or an Akeem Hicks to my door. Like, you better be bringing a vet who's proven and has played at a high level before if you're going to spend that money and not get us Cook or take care of any of the guys in-house right now. That's where I'm at because,
Yeah.
Well, boys, I don't know about you. Richmond knows better because he's been in the actual, mud with the negotiations with the team before. I mean, we're getting into June and none of these guys have been taken care of. Not even one. I'm not saying take care of all of them. We haven't taken care of one. Like, that's an issue. Like, I don't know what's going on right now. You know what I mean? At least, what's going to happen? Robert Hunt's going to hit that all-pro ceiling we've been talking about since he got drafted. And we're going to be on the hook for, instead of signing for $5 or $6 million this year, it's going to be a $10 or $11 million bill. Right? Like, you got to get ahead of this stuff, man. At some point, You gotta pull the trigger. You know what I saw? Something, guys. Check this out. You want to hear a crazy stat? You want to hear something that really highlights what we've been talking about, Ballgame? Check this one out. If this man extends Christian Wilkins, that's the first round pick since 2016. He became GM. Grier's extended.
Wow.
Now, then put that one in your pipe and smoke it. And we got Tua, Waddle, and Phillips coming up on the horizon. And that's some real money. You know,
a great problem to have, but it's a scary thing. We're not gonna be able to keep them all, bro. We gotta figure out who's most vital.
Move Wilkins. If you ain't keeping him, move him. Get something.
That's what I see.
You can get better than that compensatory pick. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna tell you this, boys, and now Richmond, you've dealt with agents. I don't know. Tell me if I'm off base.
You're off base.
You a hater. If we get into the season, and he's playing on the franchise tag, isn't his agent just gonna say, play to your best, ride this out, and let's see what the market offers? They're not gonna say, let's go. You know, they'll come to the table if he gets hurt, and we don't want him to get hurt, knock on wood.
And then if they franchise him again, the number shoots up again. So it's
to like 20-something million anyway.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God. If I had long hair, I'd pull it out right now. All right, that's enough of me getting that off my chest. Let's hop into it right now, and let's start off because we've been hearing it since we've started this podcast, and I tweeted out today. Here comes the 115th Analytic this offseason to again disprove the narrative that Tua cannot throw deep. Boys, on vertical routes in the 2022 season, 1,664 yards, and he missed 5 games. He missed 5 games, gentlemen. We talk about how good and effective he is. Also take into account here, Tua Tagovailoa was the only qualified quarterback, and to qualify, you had to have over 200. You had to have over 200 attempts, overall attempts, something like that. Anyways, he was the only qualified quarterback who was expected to complete over half of his passes targeting vertical routes last season at 54.6%, in part because he found open receivers and avoided pressure. So when targeting vertical routes, Tagovailoa targeted a receiver with 3+ yards of separation on 43.2% of his attempts. That's 12.8% higher than the next closest quarterback. Tagovailoa was under pressure on only 8.1% of those attempts, lowest among quarterbacks. So there's a little offensive line number for you, Richmond. So vertical routes, obviously you can see routes identified as go, post, corner, or wheels by Next Gen Stats. I mean, gentlemen, let's talk about this for a second, because how many times have we crushed this narrative this offseason just based off analytics that have come out? We've let the film speak for itself. But Ballgame, I mean, as someone who's broken down the film with me since year one, we knew this was one of his special powers coming out in 2020 before the hip injury. He was one of the best deep throwers we ever saw at the collegiate level. I mean, your thoughts on this? Because, Ballgame, there's still going to be people that are going to run with the narrative, but he can't throw deep. He's a noodle arm.
Yeah. Well, I think that when people sit around and you provide them with statistical data that proves their narratives are wrong and they still want to hang on to them, they're just imbeciles at that point. And you just move on from them. You're not going to be able to get everybody on board because people are going to feel the way they want to feel about this kid. But when the stats, listen, men lie, women lie, stats don't. And that's been as true. The numbers don't. And that's been as true as any other statement anybody can make for as long as I can remember. I'm 51 years old, and numbers always going to tell you the story. All you got to do is be willing to sit down and look at them and analyze it. And then you go from there, and you take what's presented, and then you change your narrative about things because you don't have anything else to dispel what's being told to you. We knew that he was labeled by all of the different ailments and injuries that he had, and the hip was a huge one. But watching him last year work through the nuance of correcting all those bad habits and taking his time and actually stepping and pointing his toe, and the windup was faster, his processing was quicker, and he was releasing and putting the ball in spots that only our guys could get to them. All that stuff is stuff that we told people about that he was capable of doing long before the injury even happened. And then once that happened, it's like, well, damn, okay, we got to figure out how he's gonna progress back through that. But he's done that, and now we're seeing the evolutionary greatness of how he's developing to his man body. The Samoan side of him fully has kicked in. You feel me? And that lower half with all of the power, because that's where the power is generated from the, you know what I'm saying, from his lower body, right? And if he can, so I'm over the top ecstatic to see how he gonna go out here and basically tear things up this year, and I won't be surprised because we've been telling people all along. You know, I don't understand anybody willing to sit around and argue the point and try to say he can't throw and he got a noodle arm when he's 200 some yards ahead of Josh Allen, who they say has the elite cannon, but at the same time he's doing it with accuracy as well. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, come on, man.
Yep.
At this point, you're just a hater.
Yep. So, follow that up, Richmond.
I don't know if I can, but I will try. It's the ball game is on it today. You know, the thing I agree with Ballgame said, and just I think if it's something, I guess the disturbing thing is normally it's our own Dolphin fans that you have to try to convince that what you're saying is true, which normally I could see if it was Bills, Jets, or another organization. But the great thing about what you just put up and posted, that wasn't done by the Dolphins. You know what I'm saying? That's done by independent. And when you get quarterbacks like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and this guy is above them in just vertical routes, which I think I've seen you say goal wheel routes and like post. Those most of the time are not short routes.
Yeah.
So if they willing to put him up there, and it didn't have anything to do about going to the Super Bowl, playoff appearance, it's just about the stats don't lie, and that's what Ballgame was saying. And when you look at it that way, you should be objective enough to say, okay, I'd rather for you to say I might not like the kid or whatever, or the young man, but the stats don't lie, and they don't lie. So when you try to keep coming up with an argument to negate this man's ability, it's really not cool. Because like you said, they'll say, well, yeah, he's got a noodle arm. How can you have a noodle arm and the thing says vertical routes, which is not sideways, you're going down the field. So it's just kind of like you almost have to laugh at them and just kind of say, okay, man, I see you can't have it.
Go
ahead. Come on with it.
The vertical route the vertical route constitutes a route that's 20 plus yards or more. So, and you know, anybody that's ever played the game understands truly how difficult it really is to drop a corner route in the bucket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From the far side hash, right? You're throwing to the far side. You know what I'm saying?
And you got a defender on the hip. And when you got a defender on the hip, man, it's not easy.
Bro, and this kid's out here with 200 yards, 200 plus yards more than Josh Allen. So I'm done, man. Like whenever somebody contact me and they tell me about what Tua can't do, I tell them to go look themselves in the mirror and then figure that out first, and then come back.
Well, check this out. When I had Nick on, he said and I've told this story a couple of times, and people who saw the show have heard it. When I had Nick on, he said when he rolled up to one of their sessions, Waddle and Tua were already on the field, right? And just an example, Waddle was running a zip motion across the formation, and then at the snap going vertical, and then at 20-25 rolling out to a deep out, and it was to the far hash for Tua, right? Tua was throwing from the far hash, and so it was like turning a 25 throw into like a 40-45 throw for Tua, and they were just telling Nick like the formations and everything the route concepts off the motions they have in year 2 is crazy, and it's causing Tua is going to have to make those throws from far hash to opposite side of the field. Like he's just going to have to, based on the route concepts and guys who are going to be open. So like that's why Nick said there's even more velocity onto his arm this year. Because what we knew this was going to happen. We were going to see, right? Every year he got removed from that hip injury, he was going to be getting more and more towards that football body, and the zips coming back, right? All that zips coming back. And he said there's even more zip on. Bro, he was making those throws that I just explained to you off the zip motion, rolling 20-25 to the opposite on and out on ropes. He wasn't putting air under them. He was roping them. Like, I'm like 45 yards on a rope. Yeah, bro.
He's generating all the power from his trunk, bro, from the hip. Yeah.
And remember what Nick said when he showed up to perform after that rookie season, he couldn't stand on one foot and balance himself for longer than 30 seconds. Because his hip was so, he was not in proper shape and his hip was so whatever, right? Anyways, so, that's why we're not surprised, because we knew the longer the reason why it was important for him to flash and for him to gain more time is because that would give his body more time to get where it would be at. I mean, we've told everyone since year one, right? Burrow and Herbert in year one, they were getting their bodies in NFL shape, but also getting their minds into the playbooks and NFL ready. While where was Tua? Tua was just trying to get to a point where he could get back on a football
body,
field. Right? He's been missing. He's people don't forget he lost an off season. Right?
Yeah.
And then what was the first off season with Perform? Getting your body right. It wasn't even about getting to the football body yet. Football body wasn't until year 2 with Perform, right? That wasn't until last off season.
Yep.
So, I mean, so he's a little bit behind, but now you're seeing the fruits of their labor start to come out here. I got to ask you boys, because I know you're feeling it, Ballgame.
It's the leapfrog year right here, bro.
Exactly. I know you're feeling a Ballgame because you're local, and I know you were rooting for them. Gentlemen, South Florida is becoming the area of near champions. Miami, the city of near champions. You had Florida Atlantic and the U make the Final Four. You got the Panthers. Well, we saw the Panthers. I knew the Panthers would happen, but the Heat, wasn't pretty. 4-1. I got to ask you, you've seen the rosters play out a little bit. Sure, we could add Dalvin Cook, or, we could add another DT or linebacker here. But with all the energy in South Florida right now, guys, what do you like? Do you like the Dolphins' chances of doing what the Heat and the Panthers couldn't do? Do you view them as one of the favorites? Because remember, what people are forgetting is the Heat and the Panthers were 8 seed teams. They weren't top seed teams. And the expectations are even higher for us in terms of seeding alone, right? So I want to ask you this. What percentage do you put it at? Give me a percentage of the Miami Dolphins being able to do what the Heat and the Panthers couldn't finish off. I want to see a percentage.
I would well, I think for me, man, like the only thing I think is a question mark right now at this point is whether or not Mike can stay true to staying balanced. I think the roster in itself, this roster stacks up right now with any roster in the league, hands down. And I think that if you do it, if somebody was to do it from an unbiased space and just look at how it's how it stacks up, right? We have more checks than minuses. And you'd be hard pressed to find a team that's more ready to win a Super Bowl than this squad in terms of athletic talent. The question mark is always going to be if the head coach can find that balance. But for me right now, I go 85%, bro. I think we have an 85% chance to to be put into the right situation to be able to capture that goal. Now, the Heat roster, I believe that they had an amazing run. But I just don't believe that you're gonna ever be able to beat a team from the West that's built like Denver if you don't truly have a really good 5. Because Bam Adebayo is not a 5; he's a 4, trying to be a 5, and then they need a true point guard. So until they satisfy those requirements, I think Brook Lopez probably will come from Milwaukee and fill that void for them because he loves Pat Riley and wants to play for Pat Riley before.
Don't get Kyrie. Don't get Kyrie.
No. It won't be Kyrie. I think they'll make a deal somehow or another to get Dame Leonard from Portland. But they're gonna have to give up a lot to get him. But that's what they're
He's
missing.
33.
The Dolphins don't have a lot of holes. I don't have question. Yeah, well, you don't need him for 1 year to get your championship, right? Keep it moving, right? At this point now, he's in the same mindset that Jimmy did. I just want to get one and get gone, and that's fine, right? Because at the end of the day, you're not moving a guy that's that old to be coming down talking about trying to take you for the next 10 years anyway. So that's neither here nor there at this point. For me, where this Dolphins roster is, I think it just really, like I said, comes down to whether or not Mike can find the balance that he needs and stay true to it, and not, put himself in positions where he's exposed, or somebody can find a lack of experience in him and expose it on game day. The roster I have no questions about. I think that these guys are athletic and smart enough to be able to acclimate themselves to whatever's presented to them. And as long as they have the killer mindset that it's our game to lose, I don't think nobody can beat them. Like, you can't match. There's not a lot of teams defensively that can match this offense. And we'll get into the questions later, but I think that Fangio coming on board is going to be able to turn these guys to another notch that they probably didn't have, right? There's a lot of athleticism that was added to that. With adding David Long is going to put some toughness back to that, bring some toughness back to the linebacking core that was missing, I think. And if AVG can pan out just enough to be able to be another force in the middle to stabilize against the run for the run game, then who's going to beat them?
Yeah.
I say they're 85% complete right now. The other question marks will be answered through the season, even though we have some questions on the offensive line. But I think they'll figure those out. I think you can mask a lot of those with smart concepts and things to get the ball quickly out of Tua's hands, so that the guys don't have to hold up for too long if you don't address anything else up front. And I think that when it comes down to it, that other 15% falls squarely on the shoulders of Mike McDaniels, not the players, because the Dolphins have a plethora of players to pick from, and I think that a lot of other teams don't look like we look, bro. Like, real talk, and that's not
What
being
are your
a homer.
thoughts,
That's
Richmond?
It's hard.
Yeah, I think ball. I kind of flipped it the different way, but it's going to kind of come out the same way. But he said 85%. But I guess what I was going to say is, I think overall, consistently, even during this offseason, the acquisitions and stuff we've made, the Dolphins are pretty much considered a top 5 team in the NFL. So if your top 5 team is only 32, so you're in the top 20%, maybe 15. So I was going to say they're in the top 20%. I think the thing that they have the team, I think the thing that you got to have is a little luck. And what I mean by that is a lot of your main players staying healthy. An injury here, injury there can change the whole dynamic of it and this and that. But the thing I do like about and I agree with what y'all said about the Heat and the Panthers. But one thing I do when I'm just watching them, rooting for them, I think they were outmatched by the Nuggets. And you kind of gave me a little education on hockey. I don't know a lot about it, but I say Florida team, man, and I'm riding with them. But I think they were just outmatched. The Golden Knights, the Vegas team, they was just a better team. And like you said, the Heat need a couple of players. And even when they played against Boston, a lot of people were expecting Boston to win that Eastern Conference Finals deals, but they stayed together, and even in the interviews and stuff, they had the mindset, and that's what Ballgame spoke about. With the roster we have, if they take on that same mindset that the Heat had and the Panthers, it could be scary, because we don't lack the players that some of those teams lack in order to push over the hump, this and that. So as long as we stay healthy, consistent, and play up to expectations, this and that, it's doable. It's not going to be easy, but it's doable, because once the playoffs start, it's a whole new season. But if we can get there and kind of be in good shape, yeah, I like our shot at it.
All right, let's go through some of our top burning questions heading out of OTAs and minicamp. Let's start off with Richmond. So your first one here, Richmond, is there a plan to solidify the offensive line?
Yeah, that's my first question. And it kind of jumps right back into, what Ballgame was answering on the last question. It is a way to mask some of those issues, but I prefer to fix them or have them done rather than having to always say, okay, we got to make adjustments or solidify. Um, and if the players we don't have can step up or play at that level, then what's our backup plan? What's our contingency plan to fix that issue? Because when you've made the moves that made the transactions, brought in the type of players that we brought, when you're this close, why not just finish the deal to where you can say, okay, we can we're a well-oiled machine. Let's just go out there and get it. So the left guard position, last year, and the right tackle position was two of the deals. And I know Austin Jackson was playing well, but he had the high ankle sprain and he never kind of returned to that form. But we need somebody that's going to play consistent and being able to play the majority of the season. And like you said, they got Eichenberg working at center and Connor Williams. They need to get him signed or whatever. And we need to figure that out. So if that doesn't work, that's what I meant by that. How do we solidify? What's the plan? This and that.
Yeah. Gary says thoughts on Robert Jones. Robert Jones is part to solidify that offensive line. He's one of the backups. Just adding before we go on to your next question here. I think it looks like Eichenberg at center is going to work out. And when we confirmed this week that Isaiah Wynn's been getting a lot of work at left guard, you got to have a sense that Isaiah Wynn's probably going to win that left guard position. And, well, at least it seems one idea to solidify that offensive line. We were asking who the backup center is going to be. It looks like it might be Eichenberg because they're even saying he's ahead with the snapping where Connor Williams was at this time last year when he made the conversion. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, I mean, when your answers are like Cedric Oboihi and Jaron Christensen, and it's not a really good backup plan just in case. Your other question, what's the plan if Eichenberg and or Jackson doesn't work out? What do you mean by that?
Well, I think you just answered my left guard position when you said, win. So, and that's good. So now when they got one position to worry about, and that's right tackle. But imagine if you can solidify the left tackle, left guard, center, right guard positions. Now you got just one position to concern yourself about. And if Austin Jackson can stay healthy and play the way he was before he hurt that ankle, I think we're okay. I think that's just the question mark. But how much depth we have, this and that, or do we have a swing tackle that can back up him and Teron Armstead?
Yeah.
I guess that would be the thing. So you answered my question, plan about Eichenberg, which is good. Win. I forgot about Win. Put him at the left guard position. Connor Williams, and then have Eichenberg as a backup. And
yeah, you know how the South Florida reporters can't tell you where people are positioned at right now? Well, people from CBS went down there and they basically came back and they're not under that same embargo. And they're like, yeah, Isaiah Wynn's taking all the snaps at left guard. Like, apparently from OTAs in the media sessions, it's been Eichenberg's been at center and Isaiah Wynn's been at purely left guard. So they're getting him acclimated there, right?
And that's good. And the good thing is that means Eichenberg can back up center and guard. So it's you're creating depth at the same time and strengthening the offensive line.
True.
And so that's good.
But
so
I'll take your question one step further. What's the plan if they don't work out? What do you do in the offseason? Jackson's a free agent. And are you going to take Eichenberg into another year, really? I mean, this question actually goes into the offseason if it doesn't work out too, right? It's not just this season too. So deep question, Richmond. Mr. Ballgame. Your first birdie question is, should the Dolphins have high expectations for Chubb and Phillips? And I know Dolphin fans are going to want to know what you mean by this because you hear, I mean, even me, I expect 12.5 sacks from each of them. And when you explained what you meant by this to me, it made a lot of sense. So explain to the fans right now about should the Dolphins have high expectations for Chubbs and Phillips? Muted.
Yeah, I think when you factor in where we are with this group and with Fangio coming in with the new defense, I expect The expectation is that these two guys should be able to generate enough pressure. And the real question becomes, can they finish the process? Right? It's okay to get the pressure. It's okay to put teams and offenses in positions where you almost get there, but like at some point, right, almost ain't good enough. You got to start hitting guys and start taking downs away from them. Start legitimately getting there and finishing the job. Close the door on the situation. If the tackle or whoever is blocking you opens the door, get through it as fast as you can. Close the door and handle your business. And with the way this defense is constructed, right, with the match zones on the back end and things of that nature, it's going to be really, really dependent upon these guys getting there and finishing the process. And that's my question is centered around, can they do it? Right? I mean, we want them to. I believe that they can, but and we've seen the pictures of Phillips, who looks like a freaking athletic god. You know what I'm saying, with that body, but like that's got to translate over to actual sacks, quarterback hits, and then hurries. Hurries are amazing. Pressures are amazing, but sacks from these two guys is what we need the most, because they're going to be the primary guys off the edge that are going to be asked to get there, right? And if the guys in the middle are clogging up places and tying up bodies and eating up space so that they can get there, they gotta finish the process. So these two probably have the highest expectations in turn on the defense for me, to be honest with you. I don't have question marks about. I think Xavier, Howard's happy to be in a system where he gets to actually not have to do as much of that man.
It's true.
The
It's
man
true though.
stuff,
When you actually
and
put it in that, when you
you got
actually
a guy
put it in
opposite.
that, bro, you're actually right. Like we got Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard, and we have higher expectations for Chubb and Phillips. You're actually right.
Yeah.
If you think about it,
When
if you listen to the fan base, you're right.
You brought Ramsey. Yeah, you brought Ramsey in to basically give you back what you had when Jones was here opposite Howard, right? Well,
Higher level.
the quarterbacks didn't have time. Yeah, higher level. But the quarterback look one way, that's not open. Look one other way, and those seconds that he's got to sit there and pat the ball, those guys should be closing the door and finishing the process. That's what I'm getting at. So,
good point.
Yeah,
good point.
they should kill it.
Yeah.
So.
Your second burning question, and I'm actually going to set you up for this because you talk about the offensive line every year about, how long it's going to take to gel. Well, when we've talked about the offensive line last 2 years, now we've got guys who are returning. So you're not saying the same thing, but the defense under a new regime, new concepts, there is a lot more man than people are giving it credit for. We've heard Ramsey talk about that. We've seen it. And you're saying, can the defense gel enough in the first 8 weeks to play at a high level? Why does that matter so much, Ballgame?
And that matters really and truthfully because conceptually, in terms of what this defense is actually trying to accomplish, is different. The previous regimes had us in a space where we were actually up in your face, running with you everywhere we go. We may very well still do that. We may very well still at this point give you some of those looks, but with these match zones, I'm zone first, and then the route goes vertical. I'm taking you, and a lot of times I might squeeze a route, and if I have Meg, which is man everywhere he goes, and like cover 6 and cover 9, the backside corner may very well have to take that, and it turns into man and stuff like that. But that's a lot that these guys have to learn in terms of trusting each other. That's the biggest thing with defense. Defense is all about trust and relying on and knowing for yourself that I have this area that I'm concerned with, but I know that the guy inside of me is going to overlap me at some point, and we have to trust each other, that I have to trust him that he's going to get there. That's a new concept for us. We didn't do so well when Boyer put zone on the field, just traditional zones on the field for us last year. And I think a lot of that was because of a lot of the restrictions he had. You had to go through a 5-point checklist just in order to be able to stray outside of your responsibilities. Where in this new one, I think guys have to be a little bit more cognizant of the fact that they're going to have more freedom to roam, but at the same time, you can't roam too much and leave your man that's inside with you or outside of you or even inside of you on an island all to himself, because you're going to have help. There's help everywhere on the defense, and a lot of times schematically, it just comes down to how fast can these guys – really what it comes down to, how fast can these guys learn to trust each other. right? Secondary, linebackers all play together. We got 7 cats out there trying to work as one, with 4 guys up front doing the dirty work of getting to the quarterback and providing the pressure so the quarterback makes mistakes. Some stuff will look like man. It could be zone, that cover 6, cover 9, the invert, 6 invert, 6 trap. All of those things are designed to make the quarterback throw in the pockets that are not necessarily there, but you got to trust, you know what I'm saying? Like Ramsey on the backside has to trust that when he's sitting in that curl flat or he's sitting in that cloud zone, that if he carries it or he releases that receiver past where he's at, because he's anticipating that the running back's coming to the flat, that, you know what, Holland got my back. You see what I'm saying? And if it's all 4 verts, then he can take it, or he can meg it, he can run with it across the formation, and then the linebacker that's inside has that flat responsibility to carry the running back. And if the running back goes vertical, then they can share and combo that, and you got 2-on-1 in that position for that, because there's a lot of rules to the match zone concepts, but it's a beautiful defense because it requires and makes quarterbacks really have to. You can't just go to your quick reads in it because everything looks like man initially. Everything looks like man.
It makes you think, and thinking takes time, and time is not on your side.
Takes time, and time is not on your side. There you go.
That's why Fangio, this is why we always say Fangio stresses edge and second level defenders, not interior guys. Like, you know, that's why we've always wondered, are they actually going to pay all this money on the interior? Because, you know, they don't stress that. They stress what, you know, right? You've already talked about it, covered it. X and Ramsey, hold your responsibilities long enough for our guys to get there.
That's
right.
It.
And we got elite guys that are going to hold those responsibilities, right? Even Kohu out of the slot right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, all right. My questions heading into this.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Ballgame. Go ahead.
No. So like that's huge, because normally before it was us talking about the offense.
Yeah.
Now we're flip-flopped. Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, got to take that into consideration. So,
sure. Over 400 of you in the room, smash that like button. So my first question is, Robbie Chosen locked in a wide receiver 3. I mean, I came in thinking this was going to be Braxton Berrios' job to run away with, and we are hearing and seeing even some of the highlights coming out. Chosen's locked in. He's got the top end speed. He's working with the receivers. He's working with Jalen Waddle's footwork guy. He's working with there was catching sessions with Tua and stuff. He's building chemistry clearly with Tua Tagovailoa. He's shown the ability he can flex inside and not just be, you know, shunned to the outside boundary. He's got the versatility. You know, man, I mean, this is my question right now. Is Robbie Chosen locked in at wide receiver 3? Because I'm sure getting the sense he is right now. And then my second and final question is, Mike White legitimately losing this quarterback 2 battle? They paid extra money. You know, I should have seen it coming, because I said last year when everyone calling Skylar Thompson QB1, I said this year's about making the roster. Next year's about trying to win the quarterback 2 spot. And here the guy, second year in the system, we're chemistry with the receivers, and Skylar Thompson's balling out. Now, are we going to be prisoners of the moment? No, because we learned last year he was an off-season program warrior. How did that turn out when the bright lights of the regular season and the playoffs came on? Not very well. He was the least efficient quarterback in the NFL analytically. So right now, is Mike White legitimately losing the quarterback 2 battle? Because, boys, when you're getting pressed up against the cap, that is money wasted and could be spent in other areas, right? So, I mean, those are our top questions after the off-season program. And gentlemen, I wanted to pitch this to you guys. Leonard Fournette was on Good Morning Football. He said the Miami Dolphins have the best roster in the NFL. Let's play the clip, then I got a question to ask you guys.
Honey, who you rolling with? So I'll be rolling with the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, okay.
You know, so for me, bringing a guy like Jalen over there, his attitude. I played with him in Jacksonville. Played against him when he played with the Rams. I know what he brings to the table. And with Tyreek, Jalen, the young guys they have, they're gonna do a tremendous job. And the defense is not bad. And I can't wait to see what Jalen brings us. And I'm very excited for him. A new home, new place for him. It's going to be very excited for him.
Tua stay healthy?
Yeah. If Tua stay healthy, they can make it.
We pray for Tua. I don't even pray. I pray for Tua.
Yeah. Definitely.
Tell us just a little bit about young Jay.
Okay, so he's over here saying we got the best roster. I want to ask you this, guys. We know where the market's at right now. We talked about it earlier with Dalvin Cook, okay? I don't know if you guys saw it. Ian Rappaport yesterday was on Rich Eisen. He said he expects him to get around Miles Sanders' money. Miles Sanders was the top-paid running back in free agency. He made $6 million per year. He thinks he's going to get in and around that money, all right? That tells you Leonard Fournette can be had for cheap. If you can't get Dalvin Cook, and they're clearly looking to add something to that running back room, now, Richmond Webb talked about schematics earlier, and he was right about everything in terms of speedster, gets to the edge quick, all that kind of stuff in terms of the fit. But I talked about this. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this. When you look at Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson last year, they were not good in December or January. Raheem Mostert missed the playoff game. Jeff Wilson had 10 carries for 26 yards in the playoff game. The Bills game in December, though, Raheem Mostert was good. He had 136 yards and a 60-plus yard run. But other than the Jets game where they were both decent on that losing streak, and in December and January, they banged up like they've both been the last couple of years, and you couldn't lean on them. Leonard Fournette, Lombardi Lenny, a guy you could lean on third down, goal line situations, which really we don't really have a goal line or third down specialist right now. Guys, we couldn't convert third downs last year to the point where McDaniel just decided to start throwing on third downs because he didn't trust our guys to convert it. Your thoughts on Leonard Fournette as a potential plan B, low cost, $2 million-ish, throw it at him to add to that running back room for the playoff run? Because, gentlemen, I believe for us to make this run, we all hope we're going to need that running game in December and January and February. Your thoughts on Leonard Fournette as a very low cost plan B, third down, December, January option you can lean on if Dalvin doesn't work out? Your guys' thoughts?
I'll take it. I like it, and I'll tell you why I like it. It's almost I watch baseball, but I watch it mainly when the playoffs start. And one thing I notice is a lot of times you got to have great pitching to continue to win in baseball, this and that. And normally what a really good pitcher has is a changeup. And whether he throws a fastball, he throws a break, but he has a changeup. And that's what Leonard Fournette could get a Dolphins. I mean, if you look at it on paper, say, no, he don't fit, he don't have the speed, this and that. But when playoff, like you said, late in December, this and that, you need somebody that can, 32, 33, you start playing smash mouth football. That's the guy that keeps the chains moving, that keeps the other offense off the field, that wears down the opponent's defense, this and that. And so when you can hit them with a Fournette and then come back with a Mosier or somebody like that, it gives the defense a totally different feel, this and that. So I think he actually really could be a good fit, and he wouldn't cost a lot of money. And that's the way I view it with a guy like Leonard Fournette, because we don't have that type of back on our team, and that would come in huge. That would come.
Kareem Hunt's the same guy. Kareem Hunt could offer you that third down back and a little bit more explosiveness too, and he's out there, and he could probably be had for cheap. I talked about earlier; these running backs are diluting their market, right? Ballgame. What are your thoughts on a plan B of a Fournette or a Kareem Hunt, someone like that who you can depend on in third down, but you can also lean on in December and January? Because that's one of the biggest reasons I want Dalvin, boys, is I want to lean on him in December and January when the going starts to get a little tough.
Well, I think when you factor in that when the Bucs made their Super Bowl run, it was Leonard Fournette who Tom graciously handed the ball off to over and over again. And as the game wore on, the defense got tired of trying to take that dude down, and he was legitimately running the daylight and just taking guys with him. I've always been a fan of Fournette. So for me, watching him in Jacksonville, and then when there was an opportunity, I thought for us to get him when he was leaving Jacksonville before he picked the Bucs, I was a little upset that we didn't make a play for him because I was thinking to myself, like, this will be a guy that without a shadow of a doubt, even if the hole ain't there, he'll make one for himself. And we don't have, like, Cook is an all-around guy, but Leonard Fournette, if you go back and look at statistically, Leonard has some of the best hands in the league as well. And he's really, even though he's a bigger back, he's a guy that can do it all. You feel me? He can catch the ball out the backfield. He can do the screen game. He can run between the tackles. He can get to the edge as well. And he's tough as hell because I remember a story told to me once where they was in practice and Leonard kept taking he took a 2-yard loss. He got taken down for another 2-yard loss. And after each loss, he was on the he was at the bottom of the pile laughing and giggling. And he got up from him. He said, "I'll be right back." And then he ripped off a 25, 30-yard run on him. And then they tackled him. 3-4 guys took him down. He passed the ball to him and said, "It's going to be like this all day. Y'all might stop me once. You might stop me twice, but you ain't going to stop me all day." And he didn't. And they said they got sick and tired to the point where the coach started giving Leonard less reps because the defense was like, "This dude, this something's wrong with this dude." And he practiced that hard, and he was just that guy. He's only 28. So if you bring in a guy in, he'll give him $2 million. I think he'll come in and he'll still give you that because he's a throwback player. He's a football player, and we don't have it. Like you said, we don't have a guy. Jeff Wilson was supposed to be that guy, but Jeff's not built like Leonard.
Yeah,
Leonard different.
Yeah.
And I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay with it.
On the cheap,
sure.
why not, man? On the cheap, why not? You know?
Yeah.
Guys, before we get out of here, I want your final thoughts, and I'm going to give you something to talk about for your final thoughts. Your thoughts on the Bills imploding right now, because I'll give you all the timeline if you haven't seen it. Yesterday, Sean McDermott said he was very concerned Stephon Diggs wasn't at minicamp. Then Stephon Diggs' agent came out and said he met with Brandon Beane, the GM, and McDermott over the last couple of days, and he was there this morning at minicamp. Then Von Miller came out and said if it wasn't for Steph, he wouldn't be a Buffalo Bill. He's on Steph's side. Then Josh Allen came out and said it's not a football-related issue. He hopes they'll work it out, but basically gave the sense I'm on his side as well. They've said, and then we had a trainer come out and say it's frustration that we've been hearing over the last couple of years about them not winning the big one, and he's frustrated of what did we do to get better from the point we were at last year to this year. We've talked about it on the show. I expect them to regress. They lost Leslie Frazier. They lost Tremaine Edmonds. Now, gentlemen, today, the last day of minicamp on Thursday, tomorrow, has been canceled by the Bills. So it is drama town in Buffalo. Like I said yesterday, Miami's trajectory and hype this way. The Bills' trajectory and hype, it's nosediving. Guys, your guys' final thoughts for the show and your thoughts on a little bit of an implosion right now in Buffalo.
Who, me? I mean,
well, I think we did it.
Go ahead.
My bad. I think we did a good job of covering a lot of the concerns that we have in regards to where we are right now coming out of the OTA. And I'd be lying if I said it wasn't refreshing to see the Bills imploding on themselves, because they've had their window. They legitimately created a window for themselves that they should have at this point. They should have won one. Let's be clear. Everybody had been building up Josh Allen to go out and be something that, he proved critics wrong. He became one hell of a quarterback, but at the same time, it takes a little bit more than that sometimes. But, him and Diggs were indeed one hell of a duo, but you need more than that. And I think with them losing Leslie Frazier and them losing Tremaine Edwards and then them having to figure out who's going to be in charge of this thing, I think the concerns that Diggs has are very, very valid ones, because at the end of the day, he's looking back over this thing and saying, it's the same team that's beating us every year, and we just can't. We haven't figured out and done anything to make this roster better. Like, them dudes ain't stupid. They've been around the game long enough to know. Like, he was in Minnesota long enough to be able to see that. Like, shit, we getting close. We get close. No, we didn't get close. This is not working. And now he in Buffalo, and you seeing it. Okay, the momentum was there, the hype was there, but like the productivity is just not there, and that's frustrating to players. When they say that he wasn't in the building, right? He was there. He just whenever the practice started, he left. He don't want no parts of it because he ain't convinced. And if your star receiver, who I believe had a really huge part to play in the development of Josh Allen, is checking out of your process and not motivated to be there, yeah, you got some real issues you got to address. And no better team in the division to have this type of stuff going on right now, because I was so sick of hearing Buffalo build this, Buffalo build it. Well, Buffalo deal with this because y'all got issues. And if you don't get them ironed out real quick, which probably ain't going to happen because there ain't a lot out there on the free agency market that you can go get right now to replace a Tremaine Edwards. And you can't replace a Leslie Frazier overnight. So good job, guys. We'll take over. We'll finish what y'all started in less time, too.
Richmond, your final thoughts on everything?
Yeah, I thought we had a really good show tonight. I kind of like the way you kind of had each of us come up with different questions and, pose. And it really worked out well because, Ballgame always does an excellent job covering the defense. And you kind of mix between defense and offense. And, of course, I'm going to stick with the big boys. So we all got our own little perspective, but it all kind of ties in together. I thought it was a real great show, but I'm trying to figure out what you and Ballgame talking about. I thought it was smooth sailing in Buffalo. I don't understand what everybody's so upset about. You just giving me all this information.
Guess what? They hit the iceberg, brother. It ain't smooth sailing anymore.
I thought I was listening to the OTAs,
Titanic, baby.
Little Marvin Gaye, little Harold Melvin, and the Blue Notes. I said, man, that was music to my ears. I mean, I've heard that "Let's Go Buffalo" song long enough. So this is just
beautiful.
Man, let me grab my stick and bet. I think the reason he's probably having a few nightmares is he's dreaming about fish, and they swimming, but they bulked up and they keep bulking up. So yeah, it's the reason they probably having a few nightmares up there. But hey, they can figure it out 3 or 4 years down the road. But they know, like Primetime say, we coming. Yeah, we coming. So great show. Again, gentlemen, enjoyed it. This and that, and yeah, that's all I got.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Remember, I will be live on Sunday with Neil for the next episode of Fin Too Deep. Until next time, stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed. And we will see all of y'all then. Again, fins up, everyone. And shout out to Topher for the $9.99 super sticker. Have a fantastic evening, everyone. See y'all in the next one. Smash the like button and subscribe if you are new.